Mr.
Bond.
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 Bond. James Bond.
Hello, welcome back to another inaugural Bondcast. We're back for a new month, and we're back for some new news on our 5th show, Chris, would you believe?
Oh, I can't believe we've made it to 5. Hi, Mike, how are you?
I'm very well, mate, very well. We're in spring, we've got a nice bright background, and we've got an amazing, really cool Bond subject for you wonderful guys today. Very, very excited for what's to come.
This is the big one, isn't it? This feels like it's the topic, right?
I think this is what we originally, when we were touting the channel in concept, this is one of the things we just had to do.
Of course,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
If you guys aren't aware or haven't seen our Facebook post, 1, shame on you. 2, bear in mind, we ran a poll back after our From Russia with Love video about 3-4 weeks ago. And we wanted to know, on a public basis, voting for who is the best James Bond actor. It's a massive subject. It's about the biggest one that you can get, isn't it?
It is, and it's a cruel choice, really, as well. Because, I mean, like, I don't think there's a wrong answer. But it's so hard to pick the best. Do you know what? It's not just number 1. We'll talk about it later. But it's like, who goes at 3? Who goes at 4? You know, because you've got to put someone down.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so horrible.
It is. But before we do that, mate, we need to jump into the world of Bond news, because there is a couple of things happening, Chris. I think you've got something quite impressive to tell us, but I will drop you the headlines, sir.
I love it.
Number 1, I hate to say it, it all sounds really morbid when we do these the news updates, but we have another death. We have another death in the world of 007. It's not surprised. It's a 60-year franchise. It was going to happen. But our apparently the guy that played one of the assassins, Mr. Wint, you know, out of Diamonds Are Forever? He was a actor known as Bruce Glover. Personally, I hadn't seen him anything else, but yeah, died today at the age of 92 years old.
Wow. That's an incredible age.
That is staggering. And I think, despite, look, I'm not massive on Diamonds Are Forever, as you know, but he was definitely a memorable character in the Bond legacy, 100%.
Yeah, that's really sad to hear. Really sad to hear. Whenever anyone from the Bond family passes, it's so bittersweet, because it gives us an opportunity to think back about, you know, what they did in the franchise. But yeah, really it's
a somber reminder that it's been running that long, and human beings, unfortunately, we don't. So it's one of those things. In positive news, though, because I don't know about you, since we talked about the Amazon takeover a good few weeks back now, I've actually had time to decompose it, and I really think it's a great idea. And Amazon have confirmed, it was about 2 weeks ago now, officially, they've confirmed that the work on Bond 26 has officially started.
Wow.
So does that mean they've got an actor? Who knows? That could be interesting.
They must have, right?
I think so. We won't go into a concept without knowing if the film works around that person.
I don't know, maybe.
There's a catch, though.
At minimum, they must be circling 2 or 3. You know, they must have their finalists.
The catch they've got, though, guess this right, they're not calling it Bond 26. They're not doing it on numerical. They're doing like a reboot number order. This is Amazon's number 1 now, which is Bond 1. So read into that as you choose, mate. I don't know.
I hope there's nothing to that.
No, I don't think so as well. But the biggest news to tell us, Chris, go on, tell us.
Oh, well, I mean, something that I'm really excited about, is really close to my heart, is the fact that Universal Studios are now building a new theme park in the UK, in Bedfordshire.
My God, this is so good.
It's so good, right?
It's so good.
I mean, I love Universal Studios. My family and I were in Florida in February this year, celebrating my 40th at Universal Studios. So the theme park's close to my heart, and has been for 25 years now.
Honestly, I agree. Universal America, Florida, is brilliant. Been a few times myself, but to have it here and to have them put in a bit of a focus on Bond for the Brits, I think it's such a smartest move in the world.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, absolutely. As you say, there is going to be a Bond element to it. So the BBC reported that there were a number of franchises that were rumoured to be involved in the theme park, and James Bond was included on that list, along with franchises such as Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and impressively Lord of the Rings. So
wow.
I think it could be a real game changer for Universal, with some really new properties that could end up drip feeding into some of their other parks. But with regards to James Bond, sorry, go on.
That's so exciting, honestly. I really can't wait. 2030, are we waiting? Is that right?
2031 at the moment.
2031. God, I don't know. Hopefully, I'll still be alive when that comes around. But
I know. Well, let's hope we're still doing a podcast. But, it's been further confirmed now, so it's not just a rumor. That Universal have actually trademarked, James Bond and Back to the Future and Lord of the Rings for theme park usage now. So it's kind of like, whereas the elements and the attractions are not confirmed, the idea that the properties will be explored in the theme park has kind of had a little bit more of a concrete confirmation.
Wow. I wonder how that relates to Amazon with their trademarking. And they must have been making some serious, bunts off that, surely.
A licensing agreement, a bit like the Harry Potter one, I guess, because they don't, Universal don't own Harry Potter, Warner Brothers do, and that's rumoured as to why there's not going to be a Harry Potter land at the GB park, because the studio tour is only half an hour away. So,
do you know what though? I remember seeing the Hogwarts castle at Universal, and phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. If they can create something like a London MI6 building, the crystal one, that would be God,
I would love that.
So good, mate. But that is our news segment covered. We now need to get on to the really important business, Chris, don't we?
The meat of this podcast.
The meat. And mate, can I just say before we do, you've been showing me your presentation for this, and it's phenomenal. Okay.
Thank you. I don't know if it is phenomenal. It's with very basic PowerPoint skills, but what we've done for everyone watching is we've put a list together, my list, Mike's list, and the public's list, and I've got it on a spreadsheet, so that, a PowerPoint slide, so that we can see all of the numbers as they go from 9 to 1. And there it is.
Oh, there it is. Lovely. That is beautiful. I mean,
it's amazing.
I can see you've spent a good 20 minutes on that. Absolutely.
At least. It was 15, and then I wrote 007 in the background, and it spent ages to work out how to get it behind everything else.
Bit of Microsoft Paint going on there, isn't there?
It was a little, yeah.
No, I think it looks absolutely wonderful. It's like we're on something like Eurovision or something. It's one of them,
It serves a purpose, Mike. But yeah, Eurovision, that's great.
It does, mate.
Absolutely.
It does, mate. So, no, I mean, this is the thing. And we're not just going to power through this. We'll work through it methodically. There's going to be a lot of curveballs to throw. But most importantly, don't forget, this is your views as well. It's not just ours. So it might be completely like, how the hell are they at number 2 or not at number 5 and all that. And we are going back. We're doing the non-official run. So we're going back to, just to give you an idea, we're going back to 1954, which is Barry Nelson. Not obviously a popular one for most people, but he was in the Casino Royale TV movie that was based in America. That was an official TV movie. He was officially James Bond. Therefore, we count him in the run. We're also doing David Niven from Casino Royale, the spoof in 1967, because he was also James Bond officially in that respect. And also Peter Sellers, who was also in Casino Royale 1967 as another James Bond.
Yeah, he was one of the codename James Bonds, wasn't he, that came out, that they sort of made everyone at MI6 James Bond.
Yes.
Peter Sellers was sort of one of the main ones of that.
But on a technicality, because he was a well-known nut, so we know Peter Sellers and other things, so he also is included in this rundown alongside the official 6, Connery to Daniel Craig. So it's I think it's gonna throw out some surprises. Maybe not so much at the bottom of the list, but certainly as we get closer up the list.
And I think on that note, what I'm going to do is reveal 9, 8, and 7, because I think none of these are really going to be a shock, and we can probably work our way through them based on that. How do you feel?
I like that. We'll still do it slower though, Chris. We'll do 9, 8, 7 one by one, but we'll just have a look at. So let's see. Where did we all come in at number 9? Then where were we?
Okay, so our number 9s are. There we go.
Wow. So one for each of the unofficial
For each.
run from there. So just explain to me. I don't need a lot of why, but why Barry Nelson?
Oh,
and
I think it's
not
really
David
easy.
Niven?
I've never seen the Barry Nelson incarnation of James Bond and have no intention of watching the Barry Nelson incarnation of James Bond. So I can't put him anywhere other than 9th because I've never watched it.
That's a fair shout. And for those of you that can't see the nice little picture on screen there, I'm on the wrong one there. That's a wrong. This is what the difficulty
Roll
is.
the wrong tape, Mike.
There's Barry Nelson in Casino Royale 1954. So he was a relatively obviously unknown actor, but I have took a look at a couple of clips of that movie. It's not great. David Niven, of course, was 1967. As I said, Casino Royale. It was a spoof version of Casino Royale, not a particularly favoured movie in my end, but still, we'll include him in the rundown.
And he made it to your 9. So Barry Nelson was above David Niven.
He was, as Peter Sellers was at the public's vote as well. So for me, David Niven. Look, I'm going to let you on a little story here, Chris. So when I was very, very young, about 9 or 10, I had a big box TV in my room, and I used to stay up a lot later than I should do watching TV. And I was on ITV.
Channel 5.
Evening. This was after Channel 5. This is, and the ident at the beginning, the welcome to the next show come on, and it said, and now time for James Bond in quite not the way you've seen him before in Casino Royale. I thought, but I've seen Casino Royale. He's not different, so I'll watch it. I was expecting the MGM to come on, on the screen and the lion roaring. I thought, and then it comes up going da 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 da, and I was like, what is this? And as I got further into the movie, it made me realise David Niven, despite being called James Bond, sorry fans, should never, ever, 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 ever be James Bond. He was nervous around women. I know it's a spoof, but he was nervous around women. He never wore a tuxedo. And sorry, man, what's going on with the hair?
Fair enough. I'm going to move on to number 8 because nobody who's watching this podcast cares what our 7, 8, and 9 rankings are. But I'm going to move on to number 8.
Okay, interesting. So
we both Peter Sellers at number 8.
Wow. Okay, so obviously I'd use my my vote for Niven. So yeah, we both went for Sellers. But the public went the opposite way round. They went back to Barry Nelson. But it's interesting though. They preferred Peter Sellers. They hated Peter Sellers more than Barry Nelson. That's quite interesting. So I wouldn't expect that to be the case.
The thing with Peter Sellers is that he's not even James Bond. So that's the reason that he got in below David Niven.
He's a codename.
He's a codename, so he's not even James Bond. So that's why, for me, David Niven gets in ahead. But again, I couldn't care less about any of these 3, really.
I agree. I think we've done these just for topical debate and to see. And I hate to say it, so George Lazenby's not at the bottom. We didn't want to do that to him because, it's got to be fair. However, so we've got David Niven for yourself. I went to my Barry Nelson vote, and you went for, and the public also went for David Niven. So that's a very quick run through of the unofficial guys that were Bond actors, and it'd be interesting to. Lorenzo. Hi, Lorenzo. Just popped up on our chat. How are we, sir? Very nice to have you with us.
Yeah, it's good to hear, Lorenzo. You'll have to get your rank. If you can get your entire ranking in the chat, I'm sure we'll read that out.
We'll even put a voting section of Lorenzo's vote and use that, I think.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, so without no further ado, Chris, let's start the official run now, shall we?
And I have to say that I'm trying to be really impartial, and everyone's choice is everyone's choice. But people, please don't riot at Mike's choice for number 6.
I know where this is going.
An abomination.
I know where this is going.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm ready for the backlash. I am. I'm ready.
I mean, I say, this is totally subjective, but please justify how the man who was the quintessential Bond for the 70s and most of the 80s is below the guy who did one Bond film. Okay.
All right, look, I've got to be fair because, look, there's nothing wrong with Roger Moore. There isn't, as there isn't with any of the actors. But when you've got to put them into a numerical order, you've got to try and create some context to it for me. So what I would say is with Lazenby, right? He had a rough run, didn't he? He was ill-advised by his agent to stay as Bond. Putting the actor.
Did you say he was poorly cast?
I think it was the wrong time for anyone to be Bond. I don't know who it would have been, because intimidating is hell to stand up to Connery, isn't it? If you think about it.
I agree.
So for me, Lazenby was not the best Bond, but he was in such a good movie. And I think out of sheer bottle, I've put him up there because he had the bottle to stand up after Connery. And that would have took a lot of guts. He got a lot of backlash. He did get a lot of advice to how to do things, of course. But I think for me, he had a really good movie, him aside. And I'm not saying he's obviously a class actor as such, but if you watch that movie and put him aside, you couldn't put him in a Connery movie or a Roger Moore title. It wouldn't have worked. But I think you couldn't put Connery into Her Majesty's Secret Service. I think there's a certain flair to that movie, and for me, he nailed it. So, personally, sorry, Roger, I love you as an actor, as a Bond, but Lazenby got my vote for that reason.
Right. So, okay.
Oh, I've done it the wrong way around. I just realised. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. So that's why Roger Moore's down there. Sorry, my bad.
So.
We messed up.
Okay, I just... Okay, that's your choice, that's fine.
I've gone for Lazenby, that's why Roger Moore's there. Yeah.
The reason George Lazenby's there and not Roger Moore is George Lazenby... I can't just judge it on the film, it's got to be on the Bond. He did one movie and it wasn't well received. Roger Moore did 7 that included Live and Let Die, The Spy Who Loved Me. You know, he was the quintessential Bond, and he summed up the time of the 70s and 80s. It was a more light-hearted, a campier Bond, and he accomplished that. He personified that. He was the right Bond at the right time, and George Lazenby obviously made it easier for him to slot into that role because it was easier to fill Sean Connery's boots after Diamonds Are Forever. But there's just no way. The gulf between my number 5 and my number 6 is huge. I don't even consider Roger Moore and George Lazenby in the same conversation. That's why that's such a shock to me. But
no, I take that on board, Chris, to be honest with you. And I'm screwing the slides up here.
I don't know what you're doing. What's going on?
Hang on, there we go. Have we got a score? No. I've got no idea where it's gone.
I keep losing you, mate. I can't even hear you anymore.
This has gone horribly wrong, isn't it? Let's put it back on the chat.
There you go. It's back on now.
Let me just put myself back on. Right, can you hear me, Chris?
I can hear you. You can't get this right, and you choose Roger Moore in 6. And you can't do the slides properly.
This is not necessarily water, Chris. It's one of those things. But no. Back to the countdown. I will say, look, slightly wrong way round. But what I was trying to explain was why Roger Moore was down the bottom, and I put Lazenby above him. And you can probably guess he's above him on that basis now. I respect what you're saying. But for me, if I'm going back to Roger Moore, right, the reason why I've put him at number 6 officially is because, for me, it was a bit too campy for my liking. And some people love it, don't get me wrong. Yeah. He's also had some very, very, very serious moments. I can think of moments in The Spy Who Loved Me, For Your Eyes Only, when he was probably one of my favourite movies ever. However, to make a collective decision, as all of the movies combined to make that actor, for me, he just didn't hit the top spot. So he's at the bottom of the official run for me.
And I would also go further than that and say that I think there's quite a large collection of the worst Bond movies, or the poorer Bond movies are in the Roger Moore camp. But considering he did 7, I guess there's more there's more chance for there to be a poor Bond movie in there as well. He's not the only Bond actor that's had poor Bond movies, but...
Oh, far from it. No, I mean, Roger Moore, like I said, I'm not saying he's a bad Bond, because there's a lot of the movies...
No.
But I do consider him to be the one I would not go to straight away to choose a
Fair
movie.
enough. I think the thing is that, like, none of them are bad. That's the thing. Somebody's got to come sixth.
We've got to make that clear. No one in this countdown is bad except for David Niven. Okay, we need to make that very, very abundantly clear.
Fair enough. Well, there you go. So that's our number 6. Would you like me to reveal our number 5 for you?
Yeah, go for it, Chris. Who we got on 5?
So our number 5s are.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, wow. Okay, so you're Roger Moore. I have explained my reason for George Lazenby at number 5.
Yep.
Too early. The public, Daniel Craig. That I didn't expect.
So I think I'm surprised by that. Do you want me to give you the public's scoring as well?
Yeah. So if we can do the number 6 as well. What was?
I did forget the George Lazenby one. So George Lazenby actually received 3% of the votes. He got 30 votes overall. That's you have 30 people who agree with you, mate.
That's not terrible, I don't think, well. You know, and Daniel Craig was obviously number 5. So what's his vote percentage? And
I will say that 2 to 5 for the public vote were all fairly close. You know, it was only, there wasn't even 50 votes between 2 to 5. So we received 870 votes overall. Daniel Craig received 93 votes. He got 10% of the votes. So not shabby.
No.
And I'm also not surprised. Well, I am actually. I thought maybe a little bit of recency bias would put Daniel Craig higher, but I'm not disappointed with that position.
No, I think, and look, this is what's so surprising about doing this as a stream, because I could never have put Daniel Craig there. However, it's not about me; it's about the public's vote. So I'm only too surprised, and I'm amazed by that. I know you've sort of half touched on it, Chris, but when we did our switch around. But so I've done George Lazenby's explanation. Moore's above Lazenby at number 5. Why?
100%. Not even difficult. So for me, Bonds 3, 4, and 5 are almost so close that on a different day, Roger Moore could have been 3rd. And somebody else could have been 4th. 3, 4, and 5 are so close for me. The gap between 5 and 6 is huge. Lazenby was never getting anywhere near it. But unfortunately, someone had to finish 5th. I love Roger Moore, but very similar to you, he's not the first Bond I think of when I want to go to a film. I love Live and Let Die. I love The Spy, Love Me. But other than that, I do sometimes find the camp a little bit more difficult to watch than others. But I also think he's a product of his time, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He represented the time. They're all a product of their time, aren't they? And I think
what's your opinion of Craig being by the public vote then? What's your initial impression putting Daniel Craig there?
I mean, I don't want to say too much without giving away who the rest of my Bonds are. He could have been my 5.
Okay.
He's in that 3, 4, and 5 for me. But I do like Daniel Craig a lot. But I think Daniel Craig gets let down by his movies, to be honest.
Yeah, he's either got, I think we said it in one of our gameplay videos of the week, he sort of was the best and the worst in terms of extremes. They were brilliant or really forgettable, if I'm being honest, you know.
Yeah, I think he's got 2.5 really good Bond movies. So for me, I can do this in 10 seconds because I think about it a lot. Casino Royale's a masterpiece. Casino Royale's a masterpiece. Below that, Skyfall is a fantastic movie that's 40 minutes too long. No Time to Die is a great movie that's 45 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Spectre is an okay movie that's 45 minutes too long.
Yeah.
And Quantum of Solace is totally forgettable.
I'm
all
with
of his
you
films
on
are too long.
All of those points, I'm with you all the way. I don't think that countdown of Craig is bang on, absolutely bang on. But I'm just surprised putting there. But that's, as I said, it's not us, it's the public. So
Lorenzo agrees as well. Lorenzo says that Daniel Craig's not his Bond, not his cup of tea. I totally understand that, Lorenzo.
I understand it's a lot of diversity, and I think that's what's so surprising. So Lorenzo, you got your vote, fair shout, absolutely. Chris,
if Daniel Craig's your number 1, I totally get that as well. You know, it's totally fine.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not giving anything away yet. It'll come up. Who was on our 4th place? So we're moving to serious.
Here we go. We're getting into the serious ones now. So our number 4s are as follows.
Wow. Okay. So some similarity. So me, the public agree with what I would have agreed with. Pierce Brosnan
means nothing, Mike. Means nothing. Just means you're all wrong.
Dalton was your number 4. Which, do you know what? I'm not going to contest either position for them, because
again, Dalton could have been my number 3 on another day. Could have been my number 3. And I love Timothy Dalton.
What was your general reasoning for Dalton? So just roughly.
So my general reason for Dalton is that he wasn't Bond for long enough. He only had 2 movies. I think one of them is one of my favourite Bond movies, and one of them I enjoy. So I think with Dalton, I just didn't see enough of him, and I really enjoy him. If Dalton had done 4 movies, he could easily have been my number 1. But he didn't, so he's not.
I think he was sort of the right Bond at the wrong time, wasn't he?
I mean, I'm sure you're going to have more to say on Dalton, so don't ruin your Dalton experience.
There's no sales patter here, mate. No.
What about Pierce Brosnan at 4 for you?
So Brosnan's a bit of a Daniel Craig situation for me. He's sort of the best and the worst at the same time. So opposite ends of the spectrum, and you've got to take a balanced view. Like I said, with Lazenby, it's one movie, you've got one view, haven't you? But with Pierce Brosnan, we've got 4. There's actually some games if you look at it where he's in as well. So there's quite a lot of grounding to take from Pierce. But for me, Pierce Brosnan was the very suave, sophisticated Bond. He was not a rough and ready Bond, not trying to be either. However, his movies, GoldenEye, fantastic. Die Another Day, not so fantastic. And that's not his fault. That's not me criticising his acting, his portrayal, or nothing. But for me, he went a bit too outlandish. It started well, and it just started to go down after. Well, I would say after Tomorrow Dies, but it's actually after The World's Not Enough, isn't it? That's where it went up a little bit. I
think 75% of his Bond movies are great.
Yeah, and I think
underrated.
It's a final entry that let him down slightly. I also wish I could have seen him do a 5th movie. Had things worked out differently. But to put him in 4th, essentially out of 6, I still count that as a real sort of proper good position to be in.
They're all so close to each other.
I think that's the interesting thing. Like I said, there is now we're getting to the top 4. There's really not a lot of room, is there, really, to move? That's the thing.
No, not
so. But the public agree. They obviously didn't like Die Another Day as well. So
the public, 102 voted for Pierce Brosnan. So he got 9 votes more than Daniel Craig. That was very close. And he got 11% of the votes.
Right. Interesting. So that's quite. Again, that's not a. What was it? Sorry, 10 votes between them. There was not
9 votes between them. 9 votes.
That's not a lot to vary it on. And again, I think it's a surprising entry. Even though I've put it down, surprising entry to put the public to put him there as well. So, So, mate, are you ready for the top 3?
I'm ready for the top 3. So, entering in at number 3 in our top 3s is a little bit more agreement, Mike. A little bit more agreement.
It's always been turned on its head from the previous note, though, isn't it, really? So, on backwards order, the public have gone for Timothy Dalton. Myself and you, clearly the more guided people in this world.
More level-headed, I think.
Chose Daniel Craig. But no, that's an interesting take, really. So, let's look at the public's point of view, what we think they might have looked at with Dalton. So. We've already said he wasn't Bond for long enough. However, I wouldn't say you could call either of his movies bad. Not really.
Definitely not. No. And I actually think one of them is top tier. So with Timothy Dalton, I'll just do this first. So Timothy Dalton received 121 votes. So he was 19 votes more than Pierce Brosnan. So another really close one.
That is close.
He received 13% of the votes. So he's actually my biggest surprise of the public's choice. But I mean, I love Timothy Dalton. He could easily have been my number 3. As I said, my 3, 4, and 5 were so interchangeable. But for me, I don't know. I didn't expect it. I'm really pleased. I thought maybe Daniel Craig would be higher and he'd be lower.
So what we can deduce from that scoreboard, Chris, is Daniel Craig has got all the votes used now. He won't appear again in the countdown. So let's put a slight focus. We've done the film order of Daniel Craig, but let's dig into the character, the type of movies he was in, and stuff like that. Why for you is he in the third place? Because I pretty much agree, but I'd like to know.
I think Casino Royale is a really big part of that. I think Casino Royale was an incredible movie. Sorry, I'm just going to turn this music down. He's so important to Bond, really, how Bond changed and evolved in the 2000s, and I just think that he's so important in how Bond is still going today. I think he's let down by his movies, but I think he embodies the character so well and harkens back to the 60s Sean Connery-esque Bond.
I completely agree. Craig, for me, you see, I'm very partial to the books, not just the movies. And for me, Craig was very much literary Bond,
yes,
the traits
absolutely.
and he heavily invested in that part of him. He wanted to reveal a personal side to Bond, not just the agent that's always out on a mission. In the nicest possible way, he wants to see Bond not being an agent for a short period of time. And if you look at things like Skyfall, after the credit scene, he's not 007. He's not 007 in No Time to Die until the end. So actually, there's quite some nice tweaks. So that's why, for me, I put him in number 3 because he took it to a slightly different angle. And we can agree, like it or hate it, it was very different.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, he was a total course correct from previous Bonds. And we've said before that other movies that were coming out at the time sort of influenced that. But yeah, I think he was fantastic in the role.
Yeah.
I just think his movies were a little too serious, a little too dour.
Yeah, there's a little bit too much rogue, maybe going rogue. Not working the books.
Yeah, maybe.
And I very much understand that isn't Priya's cup of tea. I liked it. I don't think I'd want to see a bit more rogue in a movie going forward with Amazon. I'd like to see him just being the best agent in the world, doing what he does best.
Yeah.
So, maybe a bit more flamboyance, a bit more charm, that sort of thing. But I love every Daniel Craig movie. They're definitely on my go-to list somewhere, so won't turn them down.
Is it weird that because of Daniel Craig's movies, I kind of want Bond to become a little bit more formulaic? Like, I don't want his movies to be boring and by the numbers, but there is a little bit that's like, there's a little bit where I'm like, I do kind of want the Bond cookie cutter formula a little bit more that we've had in the past.
I do agree with that. It's like, that's what I mean by it was different. It was still a Bond movie in every way. You can still feel the tone and you accept it. However, I do agree that people probably want to hark back to, I don't know if it's the right way, but maybe a bit more Connery, a bit more Brosnan, that sort of flavour of Bond for the next reiteration of it. So, personally, Daniel Craig, we're in agreement. Is it number 3? But I don't disagree with the public. Timothy Dalton's a good place to have him there.
Definitely, I think that's a fantastic place to have him. And I'll just bring in Lorenzo says that he thinks it's really hard to rank these Bond actors, and I completely agree with you, Lorenzo. It's tough as anything.
Let's clarify: there's no one bad on this list other than David Niven. Okay, we know that to be the case.
Don't know about that. I've not seen Barry Nelson, so who knows? Very great.
Right, the big moment. Right, so this will kind of reveal the top space, obviously, by going to second. But,
I think you're right. I think it will.
But let's do it respectfully. Who is number 2, Chris?
Oh, we are going to get some crap from the public for that one.
We are going to get absolutely pasted for this one. Right, so interesting. So, public, Roger Moore, who was my number 6. But we're both on the Connery bandwagon, Chris. Both on the Connery bandwagon.
We are indeed. So, I will just say the public, yes, they voted for Roger Moore. They probably made the smart decision and kept Sean Connery for first. But Roger Moore received 148 votes, so he received 17% of the votes. So he got 27 more than Timothy Dalton. Again, more than, but still within the same ballpark as Dalton and Craig and Brosnan. They were all fairly similar.
That's interesting, though. I mean, I think if we're being honest, on a public perception, it was going to be a Roger Moore, Sean Connery race, wasn't it, at the end?
I think so. And I think that's fair.
I think it's totally fair. If you think about it, if you count Never Say Never Again, they've done the same number of movies.
Absolutely. If you count The Rock, Sean Connery's done more.
What was the other one?
There's an episode there somewhere.
OK Connery or something, as well as brother.
OK Connery. Yeah.
Which we will review
Sean
one day.
Connery family have done more Bond movies. I've got a suggestion here. How about we leave our discussion of Sean Connery until last, because it does feel like he deserves a decent bit of an attention, and we're going to be talking about why the public have made him first as well. So, how do you feel about us revealing our number ones now?
I think we should do it, but we'll backpedal to 2 as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm good with that. So, let's go for the top vote. What have we got?
There we go. I mean, it's fairly obvious from our other choices, but still.
Okay.
God, my list looks good.
I think all of them, you look at it and you kind of go, it's not my list, but I don't disagree with it either. For me, I mean, if I look at, so let's go.
You talk about Timothy Dalton because you didn't spend much time on Dalton, and I'll talk about Brosnan, and then I think we talk about Connery.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to do it. So, okay, Dalton is my number one guy. The prime reason for that is I mentioned some of the traits from Daniel Craig. Literary Bond. Very much inspired by that. Died away from the campness, pretty much, from my perspective, which is straight after Roger Moore. So, I wouldn't say a course correct. I'd say a course diversion, so to speak.
But kind of a similar one to what Daniel Craig did as well, wasn't it? It went for a harder-edged Bond.
Absolutely, tough as nails. Less of the quips, but would deliver a one-liner with deadly intent. That's the way I liked it from there. Could handle himself in a fight, from what you can see. Great car. I mean, that V8 Vantage in the Living Daylights.
Oh, my word.
Such a soft spot for. But I also love, one thing that all stands in my heart when I think of Dalton as Bond is the opening on Gibraltar when he parachutes down.
In the Living Daylights.
And no one knows who he is until the last second where his head goes. That's sort of. I mean, I know. Sorry, actually, it's that face. It's that face.
Yeah, it is that face. Yeah.
So
it's had that his whole life.
He was. It just regenerated when he got old. No.
Oh dear.
Look, for me, he's only got 2 movies.
Yeah.
I probably watch those movies the most.
I love that, and I have no issues with Timothy Dalton being your number one. I think he's a great Bond, and he does.
It's controversial, I appreciate, but he's also an underappreciated Bond. I think back in the day, the 80s, you wouldn't see a lot of love for him, but now there seems to be a bit of a resurfaced love for him.
And I don't want to take anything away from you, but I think.
But you will.
No, not at all. I think a resurfaced love of this Bond actor is a really good segue into Pierce Brosnan being my number one. Because
I agree.
I think that the public view of Brosnan and Dalton both have improved greatly over the last few years. And for me, so Pierce Brosnan is my number one because he's who I think of as James Bond, and that is because he was my Bond when I was growing up. GoldenEye came out 97, 95.
95, yeah.
So I was 10 years old when GoldenEye came out. So I grew up with Brosnan as my Bond, and I just love him as a Bond actor. I think that he matches the suave and the action. He's probably the most action-packed of all the Bonds, especially when you look at the intros to Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough. So he does the action well, but he's also really good at delivering those one-liners and ordering his martini and sitting there playing cards. He's
was
incredible.
It me, or was Pierce Brosnan sort of the halfway house between Connery and Moore.
I've always thought that. Yeah, I always think that he is the marrying of those two worlds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not an easy number one, because we will talk about Sean Connery, and Sean Connery is incredibly close to Pierce Brosnan. He's not always been my number one. So, but yeah, just how I feel right now. GoldenEye, spoiler alert, GoldenEye is my favorite James Bond movie. And I grew up with the games, with GoldenEye 007. So I was just totally engrossed in that Pierce Brosnan Bond verse that there was in the 90s and early 2000s.
It was solid, wasn't it? That whole era of gaming. And let's be honest, before the retro, if you want to call it, era, like Mega Drive and SNES and all that was the first real generation of Bond games, real games, where in the way that we understand it now. Nobody goes, oh, do you remember the Duel on Sega Mega Drive and all that lot? They start with GoldenEye. So I totally agree.
GoldenEye is not only the best Bond game of all time, it's probably one of the most significant video games of all time. It really is that important in video game history.
I think it defined the first-person shooter genre.
Oh, 100%.
In its infancy.
100%.
There was other stuff before it, but there was nothing that did it quite like GoldenEye.
Split-screen multiplayer. It was just like, it was something you'd never played before.
And even if you've never seen Bond before,
first-person shooter, I mean.
Even if you've never seen Bond, it's still a good game. That's my thing now.
Absolutely.
But we do need to backpedal now, because we've gone to Connery at number 2. And by the way, I fully appreciate your points on Pierce Brosnan, by the way. Really do. Connery, though, so he was the public's number 1. And he was the public number 1. 2.
He was our number 2. So I think the public overwhelmingly picked Sean Connery as their number 1. He received 358 of the 870 votes, 41%. So he was over double what Roger Moore was in number 2. So he was a landslide winner, and I can't argue with that choice for number 1.
No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you have to put Connery somewhere, if somebody asks, in public, you go to a friend's house, or you're at a poll or something, or a quiz, somebody says, who do you think of as James Bond? Let's face it, Connery's going to be there sooner or later. That's the way you could look at it, really. He was very charismatic. Look at the man in the tux. Come on. He can carry it off. And that is just half the job done straight away. He's so suave. He makes it look effortless, where he's just smoking a cigarette at a table, standing on an elevator, going up over a skyscraper in Vegas, or delivering a one-liner whilst killing somebody with a statue and stabbing them. To me, is there anything more Bond than that?
And funnily enough, Sean Connery is the only Bond actor, I think, that embodies all of the different types of Bond in the different Bond movies. I think Dr. No and From Russia with Love is an incredibly brutal Bond, and a very incredibly straight Bond. I think Goldfinger and Thunderball are very much the sort of middle of the road Bond, where he's starting to get a bit more quippy, and I feel like he even drops into the campy Bond at the end with Diamonds Are Forever. So I do think he plays all of the Bond types over the course of his 6 movies.
Do you remember, Chris, in the other show where we swapped sides on the camera?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened here.
I know how to change it now. Get this. Look.
Okay, go for it.
Woo!
Wow.
Look at that. It's like you said, it's like Ant and Dec, cannon and ball. We can't be on the wrong side.
No, we can't. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No. Sorry, for what it's worth, though, yeah, you're right. Connery, I think he had some iconic villains as well. The DB5. I mean, come on. What man drove that car?
Oh, he had some iconic villains. Do you remember the DB5? When did he have a fight with the DB5?
There was meant to be a comma in the middle of those 2 points, but it didn't quite pass off. It's been protected on data now, but he drove a DB5, the first gadgety car. The Odd Job fight stays in history forever and ever and ever. But I think it was really interesting because Connery was the hardest nails Bond, like Craig. He could kick the hell out of anyone, couldn't he? But it was so interesting to see him face somebody like Odd Job or Red Grant, who has a physical threat to him. He would dispatch henchmen all day long. But I forgot the other guy's name. Was it Hans in You Only Live Twice? He fights over the Piranha bit. Bridge. Hans, the Blofeld's little henchman. He wasn't iconic, but the point is, I think he has some of the best fights in all of Bond. So
Yeah.
to put Connor at number 1, mate, you've got no disagreement on my part at all. But guys, we're open to this. We're open to interpretation now.
Yeah, we are. Sorry, I was just going to come back in on Sean Connery being like, not only does he have some of the best fights, he has the most iconic moments in Bond. The very first moment in Doctor No is still one of the most played Bond clips. The conversations with Goldfinger when the laser's going between his legs. There's so many different little scenes that personify Bond, and we wouldn't have that without Sean Connery.
He was also the returning Bond because, as I said earlier on, he left at Diamonds Are Forever, and then 12 years later, he came back for Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, he left They Only Live Twice, and then came back for Diamonds Are Forever, so he came back twice.
He did actually, yeah. Sorry, you're right. But from my perspective, right? So that's. I mean, look, Never Say Never Again is never going to be rated as one of the highest movies in the franchise. Okay, however, Connery starring in that movie was enough to draw the audiences back in.
Of course,
100%. It was Connery versus Moore in the cinemas. It was War of the Bonds, wasn't it? Really,
it was War of the Bonds, and we know who'd win on your list. So.
Yeah, well, Timothy Dalton would be there straight away.
Could have been Lazenby versus Moore in the cinema. We know who'd have won.
Oh, I'm going to get so much stick. If we watch this podcast back in a year or so, it'd be interesting to see if I just cringe or go, no,
I love
it. I was right. But I think what we need to say, Chris, at one point, though, is I think, you know me, I love montages. We need to pay some tribute to all of the Bonds. Let's sum it up together, guys. Check this one out. And that does lead us on to the next question, isn't it? Who is next? But those sort of montages, Chris, they make me so proud to be a Bond fan. Did you make
that montage? No, but if it's off of something else on YouTube, it'd be nice to be able to credit.
I will credit them in our comment.
I love that.
It was. In fairness, we have took the music away to stop copyright problems and not copying too much. But at the end of the day, we're a Bond community that appreciates it as fans. So I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem.
No, I completely agree. I loved it. It was awesome.
But it does make me very proud to be a Bond fan, and to see our listings today. It just reaffirms that the diverse in the Bond community and that people are talking more now than ever. So, thank you very much, everybody, for voting. It's so appreciated.
Oh, it really is. It really is. And I would also say, drop down in the comments and give us your individual lists as well. Even if you only want to do the original 6, tell us your individual lists, and we'd love to read them out on another episode if you do.
We will. We'll read the comments out because we really want to know. Maybe the public that have voted them, all 870, maybe you've got a totally different opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will, and give us some reasons why. Be critical. We don't want anything too offensive, of course, but just tell us what was not so great and what do you think was the best Bond actor ever. So, for me, I'm so proud we've done that, Chris. That was on our agenda for a long time.
Awesome. That was really awesome.
It really was. And anything that would you like to plug before we round off our session today, sir?
No, I don't think so. Just keep dropping onto our Facebook page. If you want to catch me anywhere, I'm on socials, Instagram and YouTube at Geek Figure Fan. But that's it from me.
Wow. Nice and slick, mate. That was easy, wasn't it?
Dead easy.
For me, just to plug my thanks. The voting was brilliant. Honestly, guys, thank you for voting. Everybody's done it. 890 people or where it was. Lorenzo, thank you for your views. Lorenzo, I must apologise, by the way, because he's put on our chat here. He was probably the only Bond fan in the planet that had a love for 1967 Casino Royale, and he knows he's in the minority. So, Lorenzo, sorry for causing the offence. It certainly wasn't intended.
Oh, it definitely didn't cause offence. I'm sure he knows that he's in the minority there. But no, I'm really glad that he liked it.
Yeah, and more of the same, guys. We've noticed a significant growth in the channel since January. I think me and Chris can both mutually agree and say that nobody thought we were going to get past even 10 subscribers and 10 YouTube followers, Facebook followers. So I cannot pass my thanks enough. Just keep subscribing, keep sharing us. Click the link below. Takes 2 seconds. Join the channel. Join all the Bond news. And we've got some really fun stuff coming up this year that we've got a really packed schedule for. And we really want to share that with you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you've just said there, Mike. I think it's really touching that we've got as many views as we have. Even just a couple of hundred people watching our videos means everything to us, really. So if you are watching and you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because all it does is helps us.
It's incredibly helpful, and that is from the heart, guys. We really, really appreciate you joining us, joining the community. So much more to come, though. We've got some more gameplay soon. We will be doing a replay of 007 Legends. We're finishing off our Majesty's Secret Service, and
maybe at some point,
License to Kill. It's on its way in the pipeline as well. So, what I will say though, Chris, is these guys. Do you know what they've been watching? They've been watching the Bondcast,
the ultimate Bondcast.
See you later, guys. Bye.